What's up, everybody? We're back here on Oof News. Now, hey, you know what's up? I'm the Show Bullet 8, and well, we may as well jump right into this. The first thing that we're going to talk about, of course, is the hits just won't quit. Will Smith and his family, his wife, children, all of them, back in the news on a constant, regular basis. Of course, all of this coming after the slap that everyone wants to call the slap seen around the world, where Will Smith actually slapped Chris Rock during the Oscars. It's a video that I did a video on that about almost 3 weeks ago now, when it around the time that it happened. And if you haven't seen it in the news, then you are a smart individual who just doesn't have any form of media around you. And what's happening now is that things are continuously getting out of hand. Yeah, the memes won't quit. It's also reported that Will actually was banned from the Oscars for 10 years, which it's like, I already got the Oscar I wanted and made the speech I wanted to make. You know what? I want any more? Go ahead and just UPS them shits to me, or give it to somebody and I'll pick it up at an after party I'm at. Is that really a big thing? Maybe not so much.
We? We?
It's reported that one of the movies, Fast and Loose, that he was supposed to be a part of on Netflix, was put on hold after the situation with the Oscars. However, prior to the Oscars, it seemed that the director had stepped away from the project. Now, of course, they were looking for a new one, but I guess after the slap, as reported again, they just stopped. They're putting it on hold indefinitely at this point in time. Another thing that was that Will was working on supposedly was Bad Boys 4, been put on hold. And then a Apple TV drama or something like that called Emancipation, again, put on hold, all due to the slap. But what's worse still beyond that is the forms of humiliation that are being dredged back up about his personal and family life, or his life and relationship with his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith. One of the videos that's resurfaced is something that everyone is saying is where Jada humiliates Will Smith yet again.
Esther Perel is coming to the table. She's going to be at the red table. Would you say she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?
I would say don't just start filming me without asking me.
Oh my goodness.
If you could film me.
Esther, come help us again, please. I'm still dealing with foolishness.
Don't. No, because she don't just.
Would you say that she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?
My social media presence is my bread and butter, okay? So you can't just use me for social media and not, don't just start rolling. I'm standing in my house. Don't just start rolling.
Please watch Esther at the red table, because she's helped us a lot. Can't you tell?
What's really crazy about that video is how awkward of a situation it had to have felt like for him to be standing there with your wife coming up on live, asking you questions about, again, something very personal that's between you all, which of course they put out bits and pieces of their personal life on a constant basis, which turns into, everyone knowing pretty much everything. Bits and pieces turn into full-length films at that point, based on all of the social media, all of the little lives that you put out concerning something that should have actually been kept within your family life. Now, because of the fact that you decided to go ahead and make a scene at the Oscars and, in essence, clown yourself, everyone the world over, online, is yet again dredging up all of that past shit. And what's funny about it is that you didn't have the common sense enough to know that this was a possibility, that people will go through your dirty laundry, pick through your garbage to find something to bring up about you, to make up about you, or just to throw back out there for the entire world to see after you make such a scene in such a public arena. Now, there's been tons of people who talk about how, oh, he was protecting his woman. Oh, Chris shouldn't have said that. Oh, I mean, on and on and on and on again. Well, you have to remember, she also made it very clear and made it clear since then that her baldness, which is due to alopecia, not some, not cancer or something life threatening, but her being bald, her shaving her head in that manner, didn't bother her one bit. That you had to laugh about it. Now, I'm not going to go back over what happened there at the Oscars, but what's happening now is that it's affecting everything in their life. It's taking money off the table, taking money out of their accounts, food off the table. I mean, they got super bread, whatever, but you understand that this does halt things for them. And that is not what you want for your brand and your business. I mean, he made it clear as day in that video that we saw where he's asking her not to record him. And what she did in those moments literally was belittle everything that he said. See this foolishness I have to deal with. Like it's not that big of a deal. Not realizing that what he was talking about at that moment, my social media is my bread and butter. That's your brand. That's where your money's coming from. And this happens a lot in a lot of relationships in different aspects. But it happens a lot. The belittlement of what the man, may actually be trying to accomplish or what he's saying at that point in time. Because somehow the woman at that point feels like she's in the right, or she has the right to ask or say or do the things that she is saying, asking, or doing. In that moment, what it looked like he wanted to do was to get away from her, wanted her to get away from him. He was upset. He was not happy by any means. And the thing about it is, when those types of situations come up, what a lot of women don't understand is that we're asking you to stop what you're doing, maybe leave us alone for a minute, or we need to walk away from you in that specific moment because of the fact that the things that we could say or do would not be beneficial to either of us, because in that moment, all we are is upset. But what did she do instead? Poke, 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 poke. Decided to go ahead and belittle him. I mean, what kind of shit is that? And not only belittle him, but belittle him on live. She has millions of followers. It's one of those things where that is up forever for everyone to see. That doesn't go away. And what makes it worse is to see something like this right here, this letter that his daughter Willow wrote. That letter was to Tupac, a man who had been dead long prior to Willow's birth. How would she have known about Tupac? Okay, you know what? I can give it the effect. I can give in to the fact that, they talked to her about it. They listened to his music. But to take it to the extreme that letter actually went to, my mommy really misses you. Can you please come back? Can you come back to make my mommy and me so we can be happy? I wish you were here. I really do. Love, Willow. What kind of fuck shit is that? Now you can't tell me, you can't sit here. You know what, as a reporter, I'm not supposed to have an opinion, but fuck it. You can't tell me that her mama didn't put these things in her head. You can't tell me that this child who has her father there at that moment in that household since her birth, you can't tell me that her mom didn't put things in her head about Tupac as far as her relationship, as far as her unhappiness with her father, Will. You can't tell me that that didn't happen, considering that little girl said those things in a letter to a man that she did not know. All of these types of things are resurfacing, all due to the fact that he slapped a man who made a joke that, you know, was part of his job at an event where jokes and roasting is done. Jokes are made, roasting is done at the Oscars. Always has been. And it opened up a whole new floodgate of dumb shit. I mean, the next thing you saw was, what's his name? T.I. You might have seen me in the streets, but shawty, you don't know me. T.I. actually gets on the stage of a comedian and causes a scene in a comedy club. Bro, I don't give a fuck who you are. You are not, again, repeat, are not exempt from getting burned in a comedy club. You went there. You decided to be there. What was said in jokes, in jest. If you don't like it, there's a way to handle it. But instead, you made a scene. Come on, man. This shit is getting way out of hand. But to actually have your wife talk about you in the way that Will Smith's wife has spoken about him over the years, to actually have the things that happened between them as far as the infidelity, the cheating, her fucking another dude in his crib, her fucking their son's friend in his crib. That shit is way out of hand. But it's all being brought back. All because he thought somewhere along the lines that maybe he had to be like Tupac. This isn't gonna stop. It's overshadowed the actual real reason everyone was there at the Oscars. It overshadowed his biggest moment in his career. But it's time to go ahead and move on away from this one. We got to get on to the next topic. And let me tell you right now, this one is a real one. And in fact, I am going to be using Abba and Preach's video for this one. If you don't know who Abba and Preach are, that's them right there. These dudes, like, it's crazy. A while back, I actually saw one of their videos and I did a report and commentary on it. These guys have a huge following from what's understood, and I can honestly say that they try and be very open to a great deal of the topics that they talk about. A lot of the time, I think they just do commentary on, you know, different videos across the internet, things like Jubilee, the channel Jubilee or whatnot. Well, prior to seeing this video that I'm going to show you guys right now, and that I'm kind of going to go through and chop up and, you know, report on, I actually saw HasanAbi. Let me explain something really quick. HasanAbi, if you don't know who he is, this guy is supposed to be a political streamer on Twitch. And that's what it was. It wasn't that I saw a video. Much prior, while going through Twitch one day, just flicking through just to see who's on, what they're doing, different stuff like that. Because as you guys know, I stream Twitch as well. Well, this guy's shit popped up in my feed. It was about some of the most ridiculous stuff coming out of a person's mouth. You know, honestly, just about ever. But this isn't about my opinion. I don't do that. No, seriously. So there's also video of him online where he goes through, I want to say what, I think he said it was somewhere along the lines of a 10-hour stream where the conversation topic was between he and a few other individuals. And this is where it got me. I heard this guy say something out of his mouth that was so ridiculous, it blew my mind. And it was concerning whether the process of transitioning was natural or not. And then, of course, after seeing that, I get in my recommended feed, Abba and Preach. And what they went through was him calling them transphobes. And this guy, HasanAbi, who claims he's a socialist, who is wealthy in the multi-millions, That just sounds so idiotic. The multi-millionaire socialist, but whatever. I can go more into it, but that's not what this is about. This is about the dumb shit he had the nerve to say, and I'm trying not to just throw my opinion out there prior to allowing you guys to actually see what it is that I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and show you the video real quick.
I want you to watch some of the things that the other people who didn't get banned said.
The trans athlete is going to do a lot to like foster a lot of really bad will against like trans people in general. I think it's a really good turf argument for, well, look, these people just want to destroy women's spaces.
Who gives a fuck if women can't compete at the top level? If they can't do it,
Sounds completely reasonable to me. And if it eliminates women's spaces from sports and makes it so that, I mean, keep in mind it'd be eliminating men's spaces from sports as well. And I have absolutely no issue with that. The turfs are completely right. I do want to actually get rid of gendered spaces in the sports arena, and that they are 100% right. And I don't base my opinions off of what the most radical turfs, fear that I'm going to do.
what the fuck did you say?
Honestly, this whole thing was kind of crazy. These people were really sitting up here talking about it's perfectly acceptable to eliminate women's spaces. They know it eliminates women's spaces, and they're for that.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even like, there's a trans man that was saying that. I believe.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even care.
No,
They're like, yo, whatever space that females were supposed to have, we don't care. Get rid of them.
that's them.
And even if trans women, specifically because they are in like the starting process of their transition or whatever, have significant competitive advantages, let's say they do. In 99% of the instances, they don't. There's plenty of empirical evidence to suggest that they don't. But even if they do, it does not matter. It does not matter because it's not unnatural. It's not unnatural to be trans.
And well, that's how this whole thing starts up. Look, first and foremost, those individuals that was talking at the very beginning there, I don't think a single fucking one of them has played sports in their life. Hey, you know what? Call it fucked up that I would say or whatever. I'm just being completely honest about it from the look of those guys. I could be wrong. Maybe even the one at the bottom who had the nerve to actually say, who gives a fuck? Maybe he did. Maybe he did at some point in time. They don't follow it. They've never played anything like that, from what I'm getting from them. The last guy who spoke there really didn't say a thing at all. When it comes to the main point that we're talking about here, HasanAbi, his little clip there, when he's speaking, wow. It's not unnatural. It is unnatural. And the fact of the matter is this: you have to go through therapy for it to happen. Hormone therapies, in other cases, surgeries. Now, if you want to talk about someone feeling that they are of something different than what they are, that is not unnatural. Body dysmorphia and other forms of mental thoughts that people have about themselves aren't unnatural, because the greater human population has something that they wish or believe should be different about themselves, whether it was something that came from at birth or something that happened later on in life, whether it's a scar, whether it's some form of injury that may have happened, which actually makes them feel like they're less than what they are, or makes them feel like they are something other than an actual human being. In this case, what we're talking about is gender. Hasan then goes on at another point in time to say something along the lines of, who cares about women's sports? Who cares about high school girl athletes? I'm gonna have to fucking say that the young women who are playing those sports, no, let me change that. The females that are playing those sports, the females' parents, the people who are out there looking for these females to come and play in female leagues, those are the people that care. The young woman who has actually filed suit against her state and her school and their athletic department due to the fact that they have allowed transgender women to come into their sport. Here's the thing about this. For someone to actually say that there's no evidence of any advantage or disadvantage is absolutely out of their mind. You have to be the most idiotic person on this planet to actually go ahead and make that statement. When there is evidence, the evidence is all around you. And just because you choose not to see it does not mean that it's not there. But you know what? We're gonna go ahead and hop into the video that really got me to make this video that I'm making right now. This was the most recent interaction between, well, not even direct interaction, but after seeing his reply to them, Abba and Preach made another video. And that's the one that we're going to discuss a little bit more. So let's hop into it.
Our old good buddy Shank's nephew made a reply video to us, so I made a little summary for you guys who don't want to watch a 5-hour stream. So here it is.
A while ago, these guys that I don't know anything about, okay, and still don't know anything about, made a video, I think, about title is true. HasanAbi called us transphobes. Hear why? And then the answer is, you know, because we're transphobes.
And that's a damn lie if he says he doesn't know anything about them. That is a damn lie.
Transphobic, 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 transphobia, transphobic, 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 transphobes, transphobic, 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 transphobic.
That's right. It.
No, there's another like 35 transphobes in there, but I'm gonna save them for later. For those of you watching a little bit confused, you guys don't know who HasanaBi is. Hasan Piker is the nephew of Shank Uger, who owns TYT, the Young Turks Network. And HasanaBi himself, he's a political streamer who's always on Twitch. He also happens to be a millionaire socialist. Yes. What?
That don't make sense.
The millionaire socialist?
I mean,
What the fuck did I just say? It makes 0 sense. 0. But let's get to the actual video. God.
Person in the room. Don't worry, that room doesn't exist. That's saying a lot considering you've been in a room with Grimes, okay?
Transphobic, transphobia, transphobic, transphobic, transphobia, transphobia, transphobic, transphobic. A little bit, like a little transphobic. Don't get so mad about it. Everyone is transphobic. Okay? Everyone's transphobic. A lot of people have transphobic attitudes. Trans people are transphobic before they recognize that they're trans. They have internalized transphobia.
Hey man, in case you wonder, the reason why you shouldn't be bothered about being called trans, everybody's transphobic. Everybody has it in them. Trans people are transphobic. They're transphobic against themselves, against the world. We're all transphobic. It is what it is. The same, we're all racist and we're all everything. It's a thing. So next time you get called transphobic, just mindful. The person calling you transphobic is also transphobic. The person just witnessing the whole conversation, they're transphobic too. Even though they haven't opened their mouth, you can just assume.
Anytime a trans woman wins any kind of prominence, it makes it into the news cycle. And you never hear about them getting their fucking asses beat over and over again. The fighter that Joe Rogan mentions regularly is a perfect example of this. They always go back to that same example where the trans woman fighter, is it Fallon Fox, had like 1 or 2 victories and has lost routinely, but you never hear about how much she has lost since then.
That was a straight fucking lie. Well, let's keep it going.
you're lying again.
Hold up, he might not be lying.
What is it with you and lying? You're lying again.
Hold up, he might not be lying. He just might not know. And
No, he does not care. It's women's sports.
I don't know why you bring up Fallon Fox. She's 5-1, all of them by knockouts. In fact, she's cracked a few skulls through those victories. Most of the MMA community said she's untalented. She's just physically dominant. And that's why she was winning. So you use her as an example of like some fucking conspiracy. Bro, you don't know what you're fucking talking about. And if you really don't care about this topic, then just stop talking about it. Because judging by the effort you put into your arguments, we can tell you don't care. So just shut the fuck up.
Why? There are a million unnatural and natural advantages that people have. Never advocate to fucking ban that. As a matter of fact, if you advocated to ban those things, sports would not be good. You're just saying it's unjust because you think it's unjust, and that's it. You're not making an argument, okay? You're saying it's clearly unjust without making an example as to why, without even saying why it's unjust. And if your argument only revolves around like, oh, it's unjust because like the average cis man has like larger or better testosterone production than the average cis woman or whatever the fuck, even then you have to admit that sports is awesome because there are competitive advantages. Otherwise, everyone will be the same fucking height. Your upbringing, your development, your access to fucking sports programs, anything like that to be perfectly valid, whereas a trans woman on HRT is not valid enough to be a part of the fucking athletic competition against cis women. And that's ridiculous.
That's crazy. You have to understand, the point that he's trying to make there is that advantages are a part of sports. However, the thing about it is there's a reason why we separate the categories of sports: female sports, male sports. The disadvantage comes into effect when you have biological males stepping into the female sport arena. Taking this from a point of, I could care less if you're trans or not, that's wrong. The reason why is this: because of the very biological differences that we are talking about, the very biological advantages that you are so trying to portray are meaningless. It's like saying, hey, steroids give me a fucking advantage. I can use them. All right, go ahead and play sports. You're dominating everybody, male or female. Doesn't even fucking matter because you're on steroids. Guess what? They stop people from being able to do that because it is a clear, unfair advantage. And with all of the different studies that are out there currently at this point in time, it all leans toward the fact that biological men do have an advantage over females when it comes to sport. Is it 100% all the time? Nah, but it's a high enough percentage to go ahead and kind of say, ooh, this might be a problem. When you speak about someone in the MMA, whom, you know, he obviously got his information wrong. And I just saw across the screen, I'm guessing that they edited it into there to where it said, actually, the record is 5 wins, 1 loss, all by KO. That's a big thing. And then for the actual athletes in the sport themselves, the female athletes, to say that it is an actual advantage, not based on skill, but based on physicality, based on genetics, based on that muscle mass, that muscle density, which you received at puberty. And no matter how long of a time you go ahead and decide that, oh, I'm going to be on these blockers, I'm going to be on this estrogen, I'm going to be on all of these things, I'm sorry, it takes longer than 16 months. In some cases, it's a lesser amount of time. I believe that that's the case in some college sports. The problem with all of this is that Hasan is irresponsible. In fact, he says the things that he says. He uses his little tidbits, his bites, his little outbursts to go ahead and form some kind of emotion in people. It's a business tactic, to be honest about it. And you know he doesn't believe it when he can go around speaking the way that he has spoken about the community that he supposedly supports, maybe some believe represents. It's a hypocrisy that's out of this world, based on, I don't know if it's willful ignorance or a marketing ploy to actually bring him more money, because this guy doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. And when I say that, I mean it in the essence that he does not give a fuck about the trans community. You want to know how I know this? Go ahead and throw this out there for you.
Is interesting. He once lost a trans-related debate, and people in his community were rightfully upset with him because they felt like he made them look bad.
My issue as a trans person is the fact that you, a guy that isn't super well versed on trans shit, brought on a known transphobe knowing he might bring up transphobic shit. You aren't exactly a Vosh at trans debates.
Fair point. Let's see how humble his response is.
I hope that the rest of your life is as horrible as it is every single day. Okay? There you go. Suck my dick.
And I want people to have a better, more positive approach to dealing with issues.
I despise you. I despise you more than anything else on the planet. You are fucking cancer.
That's my ultimate goal, and I feel like I achieved that.
You are cancer in this community, and you're cancer in every community. Suck my dick. For the past 15 months, you've been able to fucking hide in these ranks. You catboy fuck. You are just a trans person. Sorry, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Holy fuck. And that's your ally. That's the ally of the trans people right there. It's something, and I think is it Abo or Pre? I think it's Abo who says something afterward, which is something I said during the whole Will Smith situation and multiple times over in life. It's always the individuals who say that they want to be these great, people and portray love and promote an ideal world and all of these other things, who tend to have these ridiculously crazy outbursts. They can't even be real with themselves. They can't even be honest with themselves about who they are. To make matters worse, one of my things with this whole situation with HasanAbi, with the talks that happen as far as trans individuals and things like that, first and foremost, he says everyone is a transphobe. First off, you should probably take a look and understand what the word phobia means, or to understand what the term to be a phobe or phobic of something actually is. Just because someone doesn't agree with your opinion, agree with your ideals, doesn't make them phobic. In fact, people can live their entire lives without giving a shit as far as whether or not a person is transgender. They can go their entire lives not giving a shit until it actually gets dragged in front of them. And what I mean by that is, if you've never had to raise a child, or if you've never been a parent, or any of those things, never taken on the role of a parent, you have no idea what that means. So let me go ahead and break it down for you. You know that a great deal of your viewers are younger individuals whose minds are a bit malleable still at that point in their life. You know that when they sit there and listen to the influencers, those people who speak about the things that they're interested in at that point in time, because it's been all over the fucking news and in all of their media, because people want to make a huge deal out of it. You know that the things that you say hold weight. Whether or not you say that, oh, you have a more adult audience, things of that nature, it's neither here nor there. You know that there's kids in there. And my point is, even if you talk about it, what you need to understand is that you need to be honest. You need to be truthful. You need to give facts. Your fucking opinions don't matter, Hasan. Most people need to get that in their fucking head. Your opinions don't matter. The fact that you spew bullshit does matter. And it does upset and offend and affect a greater number of people than what you actually think it does. Maybe you just don't care, just like you just don't care about anything at all. Maybe you don't care that some of the issues that people have with transgender individuals are those that abuse the right and ability to be free in that nature to themselves. And what I mean by that is what we saw a couple of years ago, where the women who were standing up for You know, the woman who stood up for her daughter's innocence while in a restroom at a women's spa, the transgender individual who walked in, dick slanging, right in front of the little girl. What the fuck? But to make matters worse, when the women went out to go ahead and protest that specific spa, you had certain individuals show up, faces covered, masked up, and I actually spoke about this in the video as well, knowing that they were doing something wrong by trying to fight against females having their protected space from an individual of that nature who was actually a predator. But yet, you don't think about those things. You don't talk about those things. What you want to do is portray that your political affiliation, your political ideas, your feelings, not the reality of what a situation actually is or could be. Your feelings are more important. To say that everyone's a transphobe makes you a fucking moron. Yet again, you're an idiot. Your statements are asinine. Your thoughts are ridiculous. And it's a shame, because you could use that platform and all that money that you have to actually create something real. Because one of the biggest fears that a lot of people have nowadays is what comes of and from fake news. Who's really being honest with them? It's caused such a scene that we can't even realize what the reality of this world is. And the fact, again, I must say this, is that your feelings on who you are, what you are, whatever, do not dictate what facts are. But hey, the next thing we're going to cover, and final thing we're going to cover, is another athlete being canceled. Now, if you don't know who Cam Newton is, Cam Newton has been in the NFL for quite some time. He is he's a quarterback, a professional athlete in the National Football League. Started out with the Carolina Panthers, moved on from there, ended up at some point in time with the New England Patriots. And considering I don't follow sports or anything like anymore because it's just not what I do anymore. I do know of his career. I do know of how great he was on field. I do know of the things that people have said about him off field, and I do know of some of the things that he has portrayed off field. It's neither here nor there. But in this situation, this case is actually talking about something personal and dear to himself. This uproar that's coming from all over Twitter and the social media sphere is actually caused from a little video that was actually put out recently, because Cam went and sat down at kind of an interview and just spoke about his personal life and what he wanted for himself and what he wanted in a relationship and from a woman, or any woman that is to be in his life. Let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick.
I mean, I had a perfect example of what a man was in my life by my father. My parents has been together for 36, 37 years now, and it's a beautiful thing. And I knew what a woman was, not a bad bitch.
Okay, what's the difference?
A woman. A woman for me is handling your own, but knowing how to cater to a man's needs, right? And I think a lot of times when you get that aesthetic of like, I'm a boss bitch, like I'm a this, I'm a that, no, baby, like, but you can't cook.
Okay.
You don't know when to be quiet. You don't know how to allow a man to lead.
That little clip right there is what sent the internet, the Twitter sphere, all of social media, bad bitches around the world, boss babes into a fucking rage. All because the man spoke about what his preferences are. His preference in a woman that he wants in his life to be around his children and his family. This is no different than a woman saying that she wants a man who will give her attention, bring her flowers constantly. This is no different than a woman saying that she wants a man who makes 6 figures. And 100 grand won't do. 250 and up. This is no different than a woman who says she wants a man who's at least 6 foot tall, whether she's 5'2" or not. This is no different than women speak about not wanting to be with a bald man. It's crazy because he's talking about what he wants in his life, his preference, based on what he saw in an almost 40-year relationship with his mother and father. His father being the person that he looks up to the most, typically that way for young boys. But yet everybody wants to bash him and say that he's wrong. The little white knights out there. Women, you're worth more than that. Shut the fuck up. He's not saying, hey, you just need to be barefoot, butt naked in the kitchen. Like, he did not say that. Knowing how to handle your own and how to cater to a man is not a bad thing, because that man caters to you. He will cater to you. He caters to your needs and your wants. I've had a ton of different conversations with a ton of different women about a ton of different things. And this specific thing here, I'm going to tell you guys a story. And I will bring it back to what we're talking about right now. First off, a man typically stays very steady in the course in what he wants with the woman and what he's wanted out of the relationship with the woman the entire time. Women are the ones who typically change their mind, and they do it constantly without even notifying the other individual, and wants you to read their mind when they do so. Guy meets a girl, they start talking, they start dating. She comes over to his place, he then starts going over to her place. They are having unbelievable sex. I'm talking about the kind that, makes her call you up talking about, I heard that song, Super Duper Jupiter Love. And the first thing she thinks about is what y'all did the night before. You know what I'm saying? Like, on that level. They end up getting together. They move in together. All of a sudden, the sex starts falling off. The guy's like, what the fuck is happening? The woman's like, I don't want to feel like a piece of meat. All of a sudden, AHP has become a problem because now you're living in the same house. And please understand me when I say this. There's not an issue as far as there being more to the relationship than the physical. That has to be, in order to be a successful relationship, there has to be more than that. But that's a big part of it, especially when you build your relationship as a start in that, because it shows that the two individuals are actually very, attracted to one another, physically connected in that manner. And for guys, that's usually a pretty big thing. It's a bigger thing for guys than it is for women. And this is speaking psychologically, okay? But beyond that, everything's good. The woman then decides that she wants to do things 50-50. The guy thinks it's odd, but he's like, whatever. If it'll keep you happy, this is what you want to change your mind, do it that way, that's fine. Time goes on, the relationship, it has its bumps. There are conversations, some arguments, ups and downs, things of that nature. And then the woman makes a decision to go ahead and quit a job, or she gets fired. She just doesn't want to work anymore. She didn't notify the dude that this was happening. And you're probably thinking, she doesn't have to notify him. Well, you'd kind of be wrong, because the situation is this. At that point, remember, it was a 50-50 thing. He's going to carry the weight, and he's going to carry it, and he's not going to have an issue with it, because that was his intention, his idea the whole time prior. That's what he wanted to do, being a man. And in fact, no matter what the case, he always bought her things, gave her things. May not have been flowers, whatever. Took care of her daughter, her son, whatever. However many children. He was there for them as well. But then she gets this idea in her head that because she's had to do these things, because she chose to make it a split sort of situation, she all of a sudden says that he's not doing what a man does. She doesn't really cook either. She doesn't really clean. In fact, there's times he'll go to work for hours and hours and hours on a day. Come home, there's dishes all over the place. He didn't make them, but she expects him to clean them. And it's not to say that he doesn't help around the house with anything, but what he's worried about is actually making sure that the financial portion of everything is taken care of, because in a lot of households, the man brings home the bacon. I think we've heard that before in our lives. Now, is that an issue? No. But it can't be expected that he brings home the bacon, cooks the bacon, cleans up behind it. What are you doing at that point in time? And so the point I'm getting at here is, just as easily and quickly as you can change your mind, which a lot of women do, as I said prior, as a lot of women have told me that they have done, he doesn't want that. What he wants is what kind of influenced his life, a 40-year relationship that he got to actually watch, that brought him up to be a good and decent man, that allowed him and made him and molded him into being the type of man that went ahead and went after his dreams and worked hard to get there. He doesn't want something that could be looked at as, well, I can change my mind at any point in time, and he's just gonna have to deal with it. And the consequences of that means that he runs into a lot of problems, financially, emotionally, with his children, his family. And it makes no sense that he should have to sit there and go ahead and deal with that sort of situation. It's just a preference, just the same as it's a woman's preference not to date a guy who works a 9 to 5. Even though they don't understand that the guy makes damn good money. But when it comes to those sorts of things, then you have to understand that the guy's going to want his own things. And you can't shame him for his preferences, because everything that a woman says is a preference. But when it comes from a guy, maybe he doesn't want her to be overweight. Maybe he doesn't want a lot of different things. All of a sudden it's misogyny. All of a sudden it's a problem. And the media would make you believe that it's such, that everything that a man says is a problem. And that's not the case. And in this case, it's the very people who are saying that they don't want people's ideas and opinions forced on them, that want to force the idea and their opinions to cancel Cam Newton. What? Does that make any sense? Your opinions and your ideas are more relevant than the ones that he's made for his life, which affect his life and his life only, not yours. Sounds kind of asinine, but hey, that's the world that we live in now. And you know what? That's the end of this. I hope you all enjoyed. I seriously want to hear from you what you think on these different topics that we discussed today, and whether it even matters to you. But if you do have something to say, or a question that you want to ask, or a comment based on something that I might have said, I need to correct, clarify, whatever, please go ahead. Make it a point to leave them in the comments. Go ahead and like the video, and make sure to join me next time. But remember, I am not going to kiss your ass. I'm going to be honest about it. That's all that I can do. I think that's what's most important. But hey, I'm the Showbill today. You guys know how this goes. Thanks a million for being here. I'll see you next time. But for now, I'm out.